Idris Elba reprising his role as John Luther of the long-running BBC program Luther in a full-length feature film for Netflix. Let's talk about Luther, the Fallen Son. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for Netflix's new film, Luther, the Fallen Son. This is a continuation of a very popular BBC show that started about 13 years ago and just wrapped a few years ago, long after star Idris Elba rose to fame, in part because of Luther. But they did like sort of a short last season in 2019, and they decided, you know what, we still want to revisit this character. Let's give him more adventures. And so they bring us now Luther, the Fallen Son, as a movie. This was really, kind of at the start of his career, right around the time maybe he was doing the season on NBC's version of The Office. But this was really, I think, the thing that got him the most accolades in terms of action and drama and thriller kind of stuff, and probably the reason his name was in contention for the next James Bond kind of thing, which they still talk about that. I don't know what the status of that is these days. But in any event, before we get into the specifics of this movie, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews. Thank you for finding this video. Lots of great stuff on the channel, TV and movie reviews alike. And I try to post something new just about every day here on the channel. So think about subscribing down below there. And we'd love to have you aboard that way. All right, let's talk about this. My history with this show is that I saw probably all of the first season, maybe some of the second season as well. I've seen, let's just say, a handful of the early episodes of Luther. I think for a while they were either on Netflix or Hulu or something. It was long after they originally aired on the BBC, long after I knew who Idris Elba was. He had done a bunch of movies by then. So I was like, but I'd heard about this show, let's check it out. And it's good. I mean, the character is really compelling, and you can sort of see why people were kind of drawn to not just this show, but Idris Elba as a performer, because he's really good in this role, and that extends to this movie. Briefly, plot-wise, we'll talk about that before we get into more of my review stuff, but basically, in this iteration, so the character is now behind bars. He is a disgraced member of the police community at this point. But a serial killer is on the loose, played by the very, crazed-looking Andy Serkis. We know he can sort of contort his face and such from the motion capture stuff that he's done. But, he's looking a bit sinister here, but... well, we'll get into it. You know what? We'll save it. But anyway, we also have Cynthia Erivo here as well. And she is basically, also trying to hunt this psychopath down. But there's some personal reasons for her involved as well. She is the current head of the serious crime unit. But she's also trying to track down Luther himself, because he ends up escaping from prison to try and track down this Andy Serkis character. So that's, sort of just the basic outline. We won't go too much more into detail. But if you have never seen an episode of Luther, I do think this movie will not leave you guessing too much about what's going on. And I'm so lost. I think they do a pretty good job of giving you kind of any bullet points that you need to know, and also sort of creating a story that doesn't necessarily rely on things that we're already supposed to know about this character, Luther. They give us kind of the rundown of like, okay, he did X, Y, and Z, and that's why he's in jail right now. So I will give them credit for that. Like I said, I've seen a handful of episodes, but it was years ago, probably maybe 2016 or 17 or something. So it's definitely been a while. I can't say I remember that much specifically about the show or the character. So this caught me up pretty well. So I will put that in the positive column. And I will also say, I'll reiterate that I think Elba does a really good job, getting back into the role and making, his stamp with it. Cynthia Erivo, another, great talent. I believe she was Oscar nominated a couple of years ago for the Harriet Tubman movie. I think she was, right. And she's always appearing in things that are just fantastic. I keep being told to watch this Aretha Franklin miniseries that she did for National Geographic. So, but she's great here. But I will say her character does not have, other than sort of the connection to the serial killer. There's not a whole lot of sort of character to play. She does a good job with the script, but it's, maybe there are meteor roles out there for her. But Andy Serkis is a bit of a mixed bag here. I started kind of to tell you how crazed he looks in this movie. His hair is ridiculous, and it's almost to the point of like, it's such an over the top villain that it's hard to take him seriously. But he never quite crosses that line, but he like dances on it. It's real close to being way way over the top and too much to be taken seriously. But in that vein, I think that could be said about a lot of the things about this movie, like the action sequences, and there's chase sequences, and a lot of it is sort of pretty run of the mill thriller type stuff. Now, are there some Easter eggs for the diehard Luther fans? There probably are. I'm not one of them, so they would have gone over my head. But I'm sure there's some sort of Easter eggs that if you're a big fan, this will continue your love of the character. I will say, if you're new to the franchise, this may be interesting enough to want to check out some of the episodes in the series or whatever. I think if you're thinking about watching this movie, I would say watch at least a couple of the episodes of the show first, just so you kind of get your feet wet a little bit, because I'm not sure this movie is good enough that it will entice you, if you've never even heard of Luther or seen it, to be like, oh, I really want to dive into this world. But it's not like a bad movie necessarily. In fact, I am going to give it a slightly positive grade, as we sort of head into that portion of the review. But, definitely it grabs us in that first maybe 40-45 minutes with what's going on with the character of Luther, and really, this crazy serial killer dude. And I think it hooks us with that, but then the payoff, it's never quite there. It never quite reaches like, okay, this is something different, this is something new. It's a lot of similar stuff, but is it better than like an extended episode of Luther? Maybe. I'm not sure. So in any event, like I said, it's a slight positive for me, but I would start with a couple of random episodes of the show. And this is not necessarily a serialized show, if I'm remembering that correctly. So I think you can kind of just, you don't necessarily have to watch the first couple of episodes. Just pick a couple episodes, watch them. If you like what you're seeing with this character, I think the movie is a logical next step. I'm going to leave Luther, the Fallen Son, with a B minus. I tapered with the C plus too, but Elba gives a great performance, and Serkis doesn't ever quite go over that line, which I appreciated. So I think a B minus is okay for this one. I'm going to leave it there, and that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.